Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon. So, welcome to Cyber Awareness Masterclass for youngsters, right? And today we will be discussing about the cloud part. And my name is Amit Pandey, and I will be your instructor for this particular session of cloud, right? And so, let's begin a session. Okay. So, this is my short introduction, right? So, my name is Amit Pandey, right? And I will be your instructor. So for the cloud part, so this is my introduction, and these are the certification that I have done till right now: ComSci plus Network Security plus CH Cloud and Security Architect in Azure 900. So my particular domain, or that particular domain where I have specialty is the cloud part. So that's why I will be teaching you or giving you an overview about the cloud, right? How it is, how it really looks like, what are the vendors we have, and all those kind of things, right? Just an overview I will be telling you, right? And I have 3 years of experience into this field of cybersecurity. Okay, so let's go ahead with today's topics. So the first thing in today's session we are going to discuss is what is a cloud, right? Many of the people that I have gone through and seen, and my older students, I have seen them that they get really confused when talking about what is a cloud is. So I will be explaining you in a very layman language what is a cloud, right? Okay, and then we will be discussing about the cloud and on-premises thing, right? And then I will be telling you about the usage of the cloud in the real world. What are the different organizations, famous organizations, that they are using cloud, right? And they are getting a benefit, right? And why you should switch to it, right? So then we'll be understanding the data centers, the server farms, and all this kind of thing. So what actually is this, the server farms is, right? And what is actually a data center is. And then I will be telling you overview about the virtualization. What is a virtualization, right? Why it's so important, and its use in the cloud computing, right? There is something in the virtualization also. There is something which is called the hypervisor, right? I will be telling you what is a hypervisor is. It's just a kind of a software which helps us in virtualization. Okay, so that kind of thing. So this is kind of an agenda we have for today's session, right? So step by step we will be going through, right? Okay, so the first topic that really comes up is the what is a cloud, the general meaning of what is a cloud. So let me explain you what this particular cloud is, right? First of all, when we comes to the network part, there are two things that we need to understand. There is something which is called the host, right? And there is something which is called the host, right? Any host means any machine which is connected to the server, right? Okay, or sorry, connected to the network. And there is something which is called the server. Server is any machine in from which you takes the data. Let's say for example, you are connected to the internet, so your particular PC is a host, and you want to download a piece of a movie or a software or a piece of a picture or anything from your friend's system. That system is called the server, right? Because your information that you want is stored in some other PC, and that particular PC is called the server. When multiple servers combine together, they form a network of server, and that particular network of server is something which is called the cloud, right? Are we good? So that particular network of different servers is called the cloud, right? And that is very, very crucial thing, because so in short, what actually a cloud is somebody's else computer, okay, or somebody's else systems, where you are storing your particular piece of an information, your public, any sort of your public, your images, your videos, your files, right? Your personal information, any sort of an information you're storing into that particular system. Okay, that particular system could be in different continent, in different country, anywhere it could be, right? So you're uploading and storing it there, right? And it's not stored in your particular system. So the advantage could be here is that if somehow, like for example, this particular session I'm taking from my respective laptop. If something happens to my particular laptop, the information is still protected, right? Even if this hard disk fail, the system is not able to work properly, I can easily get that particular piece of information from that particular piece of server, right? Okay, because the information is stored locally on my laptop, it is stored on the server. Okay, that's the thing, right? So that's why we can say it's a server. We are, and when we connect different kind of servers, when we have a network of server, that is something which is called the cloud. Okay, so then when I say to you there is a cloud, you have to visualize that there is a very big data center, there is a hall and multiple machines are there. Okay, and what their particular machines are like, big hard disk, and what they do is that they are connected to the internet, and when you upload any sort of a piece of an information, that piece of information gets stored in those respective hard disk, right? And when you want to fetch that particular piece of information, you can easily fetch it from those hard disk, right? That's the thing. Okay, so if any problems have, and you have any system failure, something like that, your operating system fails, anything, right, still your data is secure in that particular location. But the problem here arises is that you have to trust that particular vendors. We have multiple vendors, which I will be explaining in today's session, right? For the cloud resources, this particular architecture, many organizations are today present in the world. They will really helps us in providing us these resources, so you have to trust them, right? Okay, that is in short a cloud is a network of servers. Okay, then we have a topic which is the cloud versus the on premises. Now the thing is that first of all we need to understand what is on premises is, right? On premises means that that particular piece of an information or particular machine is present locally in your respective location. Let's say for example, if you're in your school or college or in your office, you have a particular system or a CPU, right? And that particular CPU is present on your premises. In means it is present in your organization, that premises where the organization is, like it's physically present there. You can touch it, you can feel it, right? And someone can easily damage it, physically damage it as well. So that is something which is called on premises. It means it is physically actually present there. Okay, okay. So now we are going to discuss is that why many organization, if you go through news articles, right, many organizations are now switching from on premises, right, infrastructure, where previously they used to have a physical server, big servers, then they have a physical machines, and big data centers and all this kind of thing. Physically they used to maintain it, take care of it. If any sort of an attack happened, they used to handle that, all that kind of thing, right? So now what really happens is that now many organizations are saying that we do not want completely on premises one, we want to go to the cloud part, we want to shift, right, to the cloud part. Okay, so why is that? What is the benefit an organization gets when they switch to the cloud part over the on premises one? So they can be many, right? But the major advantage is their physical security. Okay, that's a very, very important thing about the physical security. Let's say, for an example, we have a two scenario here. Let's say, for example, you have a particular piece of a CPU, right, in your respective school or a college, and what you have going to happen is that you are inserting any software or any sort of game or family pictures, anything in that particular server. Fine. Okay, so what can go wrong is that somebody can steal that particular laptop, somebody can go and open your laptop and steal your hard disk, and multiple ways he or she can damage your respective laptop, right? That is the biggest disadvantage of on-premises one. Okay, and setting up an on-premises infrastructure is also very costly because you have to buy buy a laptop or a CPU and a server, right, which cost a lakhs of rupees, right? Then you have to hire a technician, then you have to pay him salaries. Okay, and that those kind of things that you have to take care of it. Okay, but in the cloud part, that is not your headache. All you need to do is that you need to open an account in your particular cloud. We have multiple cloud like AWS, Azure, multiple. So let's say, for example, you take a cloud provider, XYZ, whatever the name could be, and you have chosen that. And what you will do is that you will open an account, and then in that particular account, you will go through some services and you will store your data. Or you can, very simple words, you can say that Google Drive, right? You have to create a Gmail account, and in that particular Gmail account, go through your Google Drive and you upload your piece of an information. That particular piece of an information, your game, software, songs, pictures, school document, anything would be stored in that Google's Drive. Okay, and they are very, very highly protected, so it's not easy to bypass that particular security and damage that particular Google infrastructure. That's not possible, right? So that's the biggest advantage you have, the cloud has over the on-premises one. And as I told you, when you buy a server, then you have to hire a technician or an engineer who can maintain that particular server. That is not going to be the case in the cloud part, right? When what happens is that when I upload a picture or a particular document in the Google Drive, right now it is the headache of the Google to protect my information, to make it secure, right? And if something goes wrong, it is completely the headache of the Google, right? I does not need to worry about anything. Okay, that is the major difference between the cloud and the on-premises one, right? Then let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the cloud we have. Okay, so let's talk about one by one. What are the advantages? So many times you have seen, in the industry or around the globe, many organizations are shifting from the on-premises one to the cloud part, right? So definitely it's a good thing, right? So, but we have to focus, we have to know what are the disadvantage to this particular architecture, to this particular industry. Okay. So we, in this particular topic, we will be understanding thoroughly what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages, what are the consequences an organization faces when they switch partially or completely their infrastructure to the cloud platform, right? So let's go through that part. Now, first of all, backup and restore data. That is the biggest advantage that you have, right? The backups. What it means is that the first advantages could be your particular backup. Okay, so the first what it means is that once your data is present in the cloud, let's say for example I given you the example of the Google Drive. Okay, so in that particular Google Drive, what you did is that you take a particular piece of an image and then you uploaded that particular image or the file or text document in the Google Drive, and it's been uploaded successfully. Okay, fine. Now what really happens is that your particular PC, from which you're working, right, that particular PC gets failed. Okay, and it's not able to work properly. So because your piece of an information is present, right, having a virtual copy, or it is like in a digital format present into the Google server. So what is the benefit that you are going to get is that you can extract that particular piece of an information easily, right? No worry about that. You can easily extract that particular piece of an information. And the one more benefit advantage is that you know you can restore your data. Is that if your hard disk fails, any problem that you face, right, in your particular hard disk, your system, your operating system is not able to work properly, still you can easily access your particular piece of an information, right? That's the biggest advantage we have, right? So first of all, we are talking about the advantage part, and then we will talking about the disadvantage. So first, the advantage that we have in the cloud part is the backup. If something happens to my particular system or my respective server, my data is still protected in the servers, all right? In some different organization server, my data is still protected there. And after, what I can do is that after some time I can retrieve all that particular piece of an information from that respective server, right? That is something which we have the biggest advantage, the backup, and we can restore the data. Okay, so let's say for example, hypothetically, right, there is an organization, okay, and that particular organization is working in a geographical area which is prone to the earthquakes. So now what is going to happen in that particular scenario is that that particular organization has, what they have done is that they have kind of kept their sensitive data, the data of the customers, the data of their clients, and all this kind of things they have stored in the back in the servers, okay, somewhere like in the Google server, somewhere they have kept that particular piece of information. Now something happens to this particular organization and they are not able to work properly, right? Due to earthquake, due to massive earthquake or any other natural disaster, their organization is not able to function properly, their building gets damaged and all this, anything like that. But still the critical data, the data of the client, the personal information of the client, the customers, their employees, right, the future projects and all this kind of critical information is present in the server, right? So what they will do is that they will, let's say for example, it takes a week for the particular organization to just resume their respective work. So then what they are going to do is that they are going to retrieve that particular all that piece of an information which is present in that particular server, right? That is the thing we have, a backup and the restores. Something happens physically to your particular respective organization or your system, your data is still protected because it is been uploaded somewhere else, right? In the organizations, right, we have multiple tools in place, multiple techniques in place. What we do is that we have automation tools in place. So what the automation tool does is that on a regular interval of time they keep on taking the backups. So what you can do is that you can set up, you know, different kind of this kind of schedules, and like for example at 9 a.m. every day take my backup, right? So whatever the piece of an information which will be present in your system or your file or your folder at 9 a.m. the complete backup would be taken and the backup would be stored in the Google Drive or somewhere else, right? So that's the thing. So that those kind of multiple things we have, multiple tools, automation tools we have, which you does not need to worry about it. Once you have set up it up, right, you have set the time and all those kind of things, you have linked it to your particular respective account, then what you're going to do is that the moment like how you have configured it, it will keep on taking the backup at a regular interval of time. So if something happens, there is a disaster, system failure, anything like that, your data is still protected, okay, and the loss is very minimal, right? That's the thing. So that's the biggest advantage we have, backup and restore. Okay, now the second advantage that we have is the improved collaboration. Okay, the second advantage we have is the improved collaboration. What it means is that, let's say for example there are two groups. This is group one, right? Let me change the color of my pen. Okay, so let's say there are two groups. This is group first and this is group second. Okay, so now what is going to happen is that these two groups are very far apart. Like say this group first is a group of scientists, right, which are present in the USA, United States of America, right? And this group second is present in India, right? Now this both of the scientists, the group of the scientists wants to share any some sort of a piece of an information between them, right? They want to share it, like the A wants to share a piece of information to the second one, right? And the second want to share some sort of a piece of information with the first one. If they do it physically, it is very difficult. Why? So first of all, this A, which is this group of scientists which is present in the United States, so first what they will do, they will take a piece of a server or a big, kind of a hard disk or multiple hard disk, then upload their respective data that they want to share in that particular hard disk. Okay, and then what is going to happen is that then they will be shipping it through ship or aeroplanes that will be shipping it these hard disk to India. Okay, and it will be costing them a lot. Then it will be reaching to India, and then the scientists would be attaching this particular hard disk, which is sent by a group of scientists in United States with some data inserted inside the hard disk, and then they will be connecting it to their respective PC, and through that they will be able to share the piece of information from one side. Now the group of scientists in India thought that this data could be, it is good, right, but there could be some little bit of a modification we can do. But how to do that, how to tell our partners, right, in the United States? So what they will do is that they will make changes here, and then they will send this particular same piece of a hard disk to their respective partners, right, or colleagues in the United States. So this is how this will take even a small project to complete will take years, right? Because the exchange of data, the collaboration is very poor, right? Even a small change that you want to do, you have to send or exchange the hard disk, you know, it will take days, right? That's the thing. So it's a very, very slow process. So you can say a dead slow process, and it will be costing a lot. So when now let's say, for example, again, this is the same scenario. This is group first and this is group second. Group first as well is the United States group of scientists, and the second is in India. Fine. Now what is going to happen is that now they are switching into the cloud platform. Now what really happens is that this is a respective account they have, okay, and this particular client, scientist in the United States, what they do is that they kind of done something, they have created something, there's some innovation or some research is there, and they will be uploading that piece of an information in this particular cloud, right? And now what is going to happen is that, let's say for example, this particular cloud, or you can say it's a Google Drive, okay. Now this particular person, or this particular group is storing or sending the piece of an information or uploading it into the Google Drive. Now what is going to happen is that the group of scientists, what they will do is that once the data has been completely stored in the Google Drive, the group of scientists in the India, they will be easily accessing it, right? And nobody needs to go nowhere, nobody needs to send the data physically nowhere, right? All they need to do is that they need to go to the respective account or the Google Drive, and they can easily see what is the data that is being shared, right? And they can easily do the modification, they can easily do the collaboration, right? And the task could be, the cost, right, and the time would be drastically reduced. That is the biggest advantage we have, okay, in the cloud part. So that's why, that's the thing. So like you can say in this particular scenario, where the two particular bodies which wants to share some sort of a piece of an information, which wants to share any sort of an thing, so what is going to happen in that particular scenario is that particular cloud is like the middleman, right? It is have holding the information of the both the parties, right? And they can easily come to that particular account, do the modification, change information, and that's it, right? That is the advantage we have. Another advantage, improved collaboration. Okay, now the third is advantage that we have is excellent accessibility. What it means, again, as I told you in the previous example only, let's say for example, there is a Google Drive, right? And this is a piece of your PC, okay? And this in this particular piece of a PC, what is going to happen is that you are storing some piece of a picture or your family photo or something like that, right? Your very, very precious photos of your family members. Now what is going to happen in that particular scenario is that if due to any reason there is a ransomware attack, there is a malware attack, okay, your hard disk fails, right? There's a short circuit, multiple things can go wrong, right? The list is long and multiple things can go wrong, right? So your systems fail and all the piece of an information, your personal files, your personal photos, every bit of an information present inside this particular PC is not able to, you're not able to get that, right? Because it's gone, the system has failed, and the data is either trapped or the data has corrupted, right? So now the pictures, the precious pictures of your childhood memories and all this kind of thing, they have gone, and you cannot do anything about it. So to resolve that particular issue, right, we have again the cloud part. What we do is that, like for example, in the first advantage I told you is the backup. So first you will do is that you will kind of create a backup, okay, and store it in the cloud part, okay. You will store it inside the cloud part. Now what is going to happen there is that if something happens, even if any physical data is there, there is a theft, there is, fire, short circuit, any ransomware attack, anything like that, your data is still protected where, in the cloud. So even if this particular PC fails completely, you're not able to access it, what you can do is that you can purchase a new PC, open your respective Google account, insert your credentials, your username, your password, and then what is going to happen is that you can easily able to connect to your particular Google Drive, and you will be able to access these information, make modification, download it, or whatever you want to do, you can do that. Okay, that is something which is called excellent accessibility, right? You can quickly and easily access the piece of an information from anywhere in the world, right? That is also, there is no restriction to that. So what it means is that I can store my piece of an information somewhere in the cloud part, like okay, in the Google Drive, and now I'm somewhere outside of India. And what I can do is that I can extract this particular piece or access those files even I am outside. I have to enter the only condition here is that I have to enter the correct, the correct credentials, okay, the correct username and the correct password. That's it, right? Okay. Now, the another advantage we have is the low maintenance cost, right? As again in the scenario, let's say for example, I told you in when we were comparing the on-premises one, right? And these are the servers, okay? They are physically present in your school or your colleges, right? And there is another particular thing which is present in the cloud, right? Let's talk about. So let's say, for example, let's understand this low maintenance cost, right? What is why we say that when we move our architecture to the cloud, right? So why that particular architecture is going to cost us very low as compared to the on-premises one. Let's say, for example, the same example, okay? Okay. So what is going to happen in this particular scenario is that in your organization you have a server or a system in place, and in that particular system you are storing any sort of a piece of an information, right? Your file, your folder, any sort of a piece of information that you are storing there. You have to keep that particular information safe, right? And multiple other things that you have to do. You have to like assign technicians, right, an engineer, right, that the particular server or a system should work properly, okay? So those kind of things that you need to have, right? That will be costing you a lot. Even a single server, okay? So what is like we have, like the servers that we have, like we purchase, they cost very much, okay? A normal server, a very low performing server would be costing you 5 to 6 lakh rupees, and that's a lost. And definitely as per your requirement, when the needs increases, right, and the server, it increases, right, you need a high performing server, a high performing computer. So definitely for sure it is going to cost you a lot, right? And definitely for sure, let's say for example you have purchased a server for your particular respective things, okay, right? So now what is going to do is that you have brought a 8 lakhs of server for your complete school, okay? And now what is going to do is that you have to you have to hire a technician, an engineer, and all those kind of people. So definitely for sure the complete range would be 10 lakh rupees. So for a small school, this particular 10 lakh rupees is going to, you are going to spend initially, right, in an order to purchase that particular piece of it. Then then comes the maintenance. That could be something, system failure could be there, the hard disk would not be able to work properly, anything like that. So what is going to happen in that particular scenario is that you are spending a lot, okay, and then you have to spend a huge amount of cost in maintaining that particular respective thing as well, right? That is the biggest disadvantage of the on-premises one that I have told you, right? Because it is present in your location, in your machine. You have to take care of it, you have to purchase it, you have to take care of it. Something goes wrong, it is your headache, you have to do everything, okay? Like like your normal PC. If something happens to your particular PC, your RAM fails, your hard disk fail, your responsibility. You have to go to the market, go to the different e-commerce website, purchase it, right? Nobody else is going to do for you. But now the biggest advantage, when we switch to the cloud part, the biggest advantage we have is that we does not need to worry about anything. All you need to do is that, let's say for example in the Google Drive case, let's say you have an image or a photo or anything like that. What you do, you take a Google Drive and then you install or upload a piece of a picture or album or anything like that in your respective Google Drive, right? How much is the cost for that? Zero, right? Initially if you go Today, Google in one particular account, right? Google give you at least 15 GB free. Okay, if you want to exceed that, definitely you have to pay some amount of money for that. But 15 GB, you can, it's free of cost, right? Initially, okay, per account, right? That's the thing. So how much you are paying it for? Nothing. Okay, so that's the, if you compare it, initially in your organization, in your school, you are paying 10 lakh rupees for a server for storing all the data of the students, right? Maintaining it and all those kind of things, right? Definitely for sure. In the coming days, that cost is only going to increase, right? But when we switch to the cloud part, the maintenance is very, very low, right? That's the biggest advantage also we have, low maintenance cost. And this is one of the major factor why many organizations nowadays are switching from the on-premises one to the cloud part, right? Because it's very, very cheap, right? Okay, so you are spending 10 lakh rupees on a piece of an hardware, right? And then you are spending a very little, or whether it's free, okay, in some cases, or you have to spend very, very few amount of money. Okay, that's the thing. That's the advantage we have in the cloud part, low maintenance cost. And like in the on-premises one, you have to spend a huge amount of money for that. Okay, so this is another advantage we have, right? Then is the mobility. What it means is that you can access any sort of a piece of an information from anywhere in the world, right? Anywhere, from anywhere you can access your Google Drive, no matter what your geographical location is, right? So if you, any sort of a piece of information is present in your particular Google Drive, definitely for sure you can access it from anywhere in the world. That is the mobility we have, right? And another benefit we have is that, let's say for example, I told you that you have to bring a server, you want to create a server, right, in your organization, and so it will be costing you 10 lakh rupees. Okay, a very minimum I'm talking right now. Definitely for sure, as the complexity increases, this cost is going to be get even more and more, right? So definitely for our very basic one, it is going to get cost you at least 10 lakh rupees for sure. Okay, now let's say for example, the server is running, right, and there is electricity bill, definitely for sure, because the server would be consuming the power. Okay, and all those kind of things could be there. So now what is going to happen here is that the server is just lying there. Let's say for example, you have brought a 10 lakh rupees of a server, okay, for your respective school, right? And now it's summer vacation, right? Even you have spent 10 lakh rupees, the server is still lying in your computer room or any like any location in your respective a school or a college, right? It is just lying there, right? Useless, but still you have to pay for it. It will be keep on running. You have to maintain it, right? That it should be on a routinely basis, should be clean. There should be no dust particle and all those kind of things. The room where the servers are kept should be absolutely clean and hygienic, and hygiene should be maintained, right? All those kind of things. So still there is a problem. But in the cloud part, that is not the case. What it means is that, let's say for example, again, an example of your Google Drive. Let's say for example, I have a Google Drive. Create a Google account. I create my Google account, right? And what I do is that I go to my Google Drive, and the Google Drive, I insert any sort of a piece of an information inside it. Okay, definitely at the initial stage, the Google Drive is only paying us, free for like 15 GB. Okay, if you want to exceed it, then you have to pay for that. Okay, but thing here is that, let's say for example, if I want to exceed more than that, or let's say for example in the Amazon, right, which I will be explaining you, in the Amazon that you have seen, the Amazon Prime and all those kind of thing, Amazon also provides a same service like the Google Drive with the name of AWS. Okay, it's completely a computer services cloud service, right, with the name of AWS. So what you can do in that particular AWS is that you can store your piece of an information there, and you only pay for what you do there, right? If so, for example, what it means is that if you're not using it, you will not pay for that. Simple as that. What it means is that in that particular AWS, you will store any sort of piece of your data, your files and folder. Let's say for example, for 5 days that particular file and folder was present in that particular Amazon cloud. Okay, you will pay only for 5 days. Let's say for example on the sixth day you kind of deleted all the data, now your drive is completely empty. Okay, so you will not pay for the sixth day. Seventh day you have inserted again 10 GB of a data for let's say 24 hours, so you will only pay for 24 hours. That's the advantage we also have in the cloud part as compared to the on-premises one. In the cloud part you only pay as you use it. Okay, so like for example if you are using a particular service or storage or anything like that for 5 days, you will only pay for 5 days, right? On the sixth day you delete everything, you completely erase everything, wipe it out, every bit of an information. No problem, no issue with that. Okay, you will not be charged a single penny, but for the 5 days that you have used their resources, you are going to use it. Okay, that's the thing. Let's like if you have like your Ola or Uber, right? So like the Ola or Uber, what you do is that you kind of rent a service, right? And you want to, let's say for example you have, want to go to 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers, and what you do, you just sit inside that particular vehicle, and then you go 20 and 20, 10 to 20 kilometers, right? And then you pay that piece of, you pay for that particular service to that particular person or that respective organization, right? Ola, Uber, and that's it, right? That is the cloud part. Like if you want to go, you do not are purchasing that particular complete car, you're only utilizing it as per your need. If you want to go for 20 kilometers, you are asking them that please, I will be giving you some kind of charges for that, and but can you please provide me this particular service. So based upon your service, right, and the durability, that how long you're using that particular service, you will be charged. Okay, that's the thing. So we have pay per use model. Okay, based upon your usage you will be charged. That's the thing we have in the cloud. Okay. Okay, then we have another thing in the cloud part is unlimited storage capacity, right? Again, you may be thinking that Amit, you have told us that in the cloud, particularly in the Gmail, right? In the Gmail we have 15 GB of it. Yes, if you go to the Google Drive, there you can see that initially for per account you have 15 GB free of cost. Okay, if you want more than that, you have to pay more for that. Okay, but there is, if you go to that particular chart, okay, in that the Google has given you that you can get the maximum 4 TB. Okay, for maximum you can get 4 TB, right? Not more than that. But there are multiple other services more than Google Drive, okay, which I will be showing you in the coming days, right? Which is like in the, again, the case of AWS, right? Because see, why I'm telling you that AWS part, and why not the Google Drive? Why I'm switching little by little from the Google Drive to the AWS? Why? Because Google Drive is mostly is kind of used, everybody knows that. Okay, but the problem with the Google Drive is that there is a lot of a problem with the concern of the security. So it means is there are some kind of reports in place that any piece of an information that you are storing here, that could be a problem. So we have in the organizations, these big organization like the Amazon and all this kind of things has created infrastructure which are very secure, right? More secure than your Google Drive, right? That kind of thing. So in the Amazon we have something services in place, AWS, same like the Google Drive one, but much secure, right? Your data is completely encrypted, well stored and well managed, right? Okay, so that's the advantage we have, right? So now we have, when we go to those services which are for the organization or which are for like your Google Drive, but for sensitive data, then we have unlimited storage, right? Let's say for example I will be showing you, let right now all you need to do is that you need to remember this particular thing. We have a something like we have Google Drive. This GD is the Google Drive which is being provided by the respective Google. Okay, which is very famous and it's free, 15 GB, and many people use it, right? This particular Google Drive. But there are multiple reports in place that something, this is not much secure. Okay, you cannot use the Google Drive for sensitive data and storing and all those kind of things. Critical data, you cannot do that. Okay, for the big organization. So there's something which is called S3. right? It is also a kind of service which is provided by the AWS, Amazon. Okay, S3. You only need to remember is this name particular thing, which is called the S3. S3 is kind of a same like your Google Drive. But the thing with the S3 is, it is, I will be showing you S3 how it really looks like, right? But the S3 is like your Google Drive, okay? And what you do is that you store a piece of an information, every bit of an information you can store inside it. Same like the Google Drive, okay? But the thing is that S3 is more secure, right? And more, used by this professional, the big organization, and even the government organizations, right? In the they store their piece of information is in the S3, right? That's the thing. So when I will be showing you this particular thing, S3, because it is about much more, professional people use this particular S3 because they want to store their sensitive data, their organization information, right? Your personal data and all this kind of things in the S3. So right now, all you need to remember is that S3 is like a Google Drive, okay, with very good features, more than the Google Drive, right? Okay. So now for the S3 part is that it provides you unlimited storage. What it means is that I can store unlimited data. For this particular Google Drive, the maximum capacity, even if I pay it, the maximum capacity is 4 TB, right? The maximum capacity, that's the maximum the Google Drive can go. But what if I'm working in a big organization, big corporate organization, right? Like there is a data centers, I'm data mining and multiple things are there in today's world, and trillions amount of data is being generated. I want to store that data. Google Drive could not do that. Okay, even if I pay for it, it cannot exceed more than 4 TB. Okay, that's very very low or very very small as compared to these big organization. So what I do is that I switch to the this S3 provided by the AWS, right? Provided by the Amazon. So what I do is that in this S3 I get unlimited data storage, right? Unlimited. I can store thousands of terabytes, lakhs of terabytes of data in the S3. But the thing definitely for sure, I am using its services, so I will be paying for it. Okay, that is the thing in the S3 part. So like for example, if I'm using like let's say for example, there is a huge, like a movie or a big video or anything like that, or the big file of my organization which I wants to store in the S3. Okay, and let's say for example the size of it is 10 TB, right? Now what is going to happen is that I am storing for 10 days that particular 10 TB of file in the S3. Okay, but the thing here in that particular scenario is that I will be paying the Amazon for it. Okay, for the 10 day I'm using their services, I'm storing some piece of an information in the S3, so I will be paying for it. Fine, that's the thing. After 10 day I kind of retrieve the thing and there is no data present now in the S3, and I will not be charged. Okay, so that's the thing. So unlimited storage I have, right? So remember this thing. So in short, if I summarize it, the Google Drive is for general public. You can say that. Okay, with full confidence, the Google Drive is for the general public. If you want to store any sort of a piece of an information which is not sensitive, right? Or like not sensitive, or um, it is not very private, it does not need to go to the Google Drive. There are multiple other options as well in the market. There is something which is S3. Okay, you can store it, which is used by even the governments across the globe, right? They store this sensitive data here. Okay, that's the thing. So that's what another advantage we have is the unlimited storages, right? So so the cloud is not just you know till the Google Drive. It is much beyond that. Google Drive is just a little baby in front of the cloud architecture. Okay. Okay. So we have another advantage that we have is the unlimited storage capacity, right? Then another advantage we have is the data security. The advantage that we have is the data security we have, right? This data, very, very important, right? In today's world, this data is everything, right? Okay, so another advantage that we have is that, data security. Let me explain why. Let's say, for example, that particular piece of information is present in your system or your laptop or your particular server in your respective college or your school, right? And that particular piece of an information gets corrupted or gets stolen, right? That's a thing. That is a huge possibility. And many people, they are very, I have seen in my life till now that many people are very careless when it comes to protecting their own data. They keep very weak password, right? Even if you have any sort of a piece of an information present, very very sensitive piece of information, right, present in your laptop or your system or your PCs, what is going to happen is that that particular piece of information your particular laptop would be protected by a piece of a password. But there is a thing which is called the brute force attack. Okay, it is a kind of an attack in the cybersecurity. Okay, let me tell you what that attack is. What that particular attack does is that that attack, you know try all the available combination. Okay, it will start from zero and it will do all the possible combination till it's able to crack your password, right? The smaller your password is, the better the chances that it will just going to crack you in a short period of time. So even if your password is like 123 ABCDXYZ, many people have that even for their laptop or for their email IDs as well. It is very easy to brute force it, right? So within, if you have a password of 4 characters or 5 characters, it is easily possible to brute force it and get an access, inside the particular laptop, right? That could be a thing. Okay, but when you kind of switch your organization data completely or partially in the cloud part, now what they do is that in the cloud they have a strict regulations in place, right? So what they do in that particular they have laws or rules and implemented that how to store the data, what are the rules we have to follow, what are the encryption, right, algorithms we have to follow, all those kind of things they will be using it. Okay, that's the thing we have in the data security. So that's another advantage the cloud provides. Okay, so if your piece of an information is present in the cloud, it is a possibility that the if it is that particular vendor, the particular organization who is providing the resources, right, if it is a good organization, reputed organization, definitely for sure they are going to you know encrypt your data, right, store your data very, you know in a well mannered way. Okay, in a structured way to protect every piece of your data, right? That is something which is called the data security. Like we have talked about the backup part, we have talked about the improved collaborations, right? Multiple organizations can collaborate together, right? We have excellent accessibility that any particular person anywhere in the world can easily access it. Okay, low maintenance cost is also there. You does not need to spend thousands or millions of rupees into storing or you know um, caking or maintaining that particular servers and all those kind of things, systems, right? Okay, so somebody has asked me a very good question that if our account get compromised, can we get a data back? Yeah, definitely for sure you can get your data back, but there is a big problem with that. What means that it means that your data has been, your account has been breached. What it means is that your piece of an information is breached and it is now present in the dark web. Okay, or you can say over the internet, right? So if you have, let's say for example, in your Google Drive you have stored some piece of an information. Right now I'm giving an example of the Google Drive. Okay, let me again just give you an example, comparison of the Google Drive. This Google Drive GD, okay, and this is the S3, right? Okay, okay, now what really happens in this particular scenario is that you are storing some piece of your information here, okay, in the Google Drive. Let's say for example your Google Drive, like say in India we have Aadhaar card and the pen card and all those kind of things. So I have stored a copy or a digital copy or a zero, kind of a scanned copy or something, digital copy or something like that, of my pen card or my Aadhaar card or my passport, right, in my Google Drive. Now what really happens is that my Google account somehow get attacked by the attacker, and now my piece of information has been breached, right? Okay. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Raj. That's a good website, right? Have I been pounded? So I will be coming to that part. Okay. Right. So what really happens in this particular scenario is that if your piece of an information is breached, what is going to happen is that now it is all over the internet. And guys, the rule in the cybersecurity is that once over the internet, always over the internet. Simple as that. So when your data, a particular piece of information, your critical information is now public, okay, you cannot retrieve it back. So that's the thing. So you can definitely for sure get your thing back from your account. Okay, you can access it. There's a huge possibility that you can still access your particular account, but the account data has been breached. That it can be a thing in some kinds of hack, like your ransomware attack or some kind those kind of attack. What the attacker does is that they kind of blocks you from accessing your own website or your own data or your own account, right? That is also kind of an attack we have. So we have multiple kinds of an attack. Like in the ransomware attack, what really happens is that, let's say for example, I have an account, or I have a laptop, and there is a ransomware account attack in this particular laptop, so I cannot access my own data. The attacker would be encrypting complete data or a hard disk, and I have to pay him some amount, right, in order to, you know, get my data back. That kind of attacks we also have that, right? And Yashraj has shared us the link, which is by of have I been pounded. This is a very interesting website, guys, right? What this particular website does is that if you go to this particular website, it will be asking for your email address, right? And I will highly recommend that after the session, please go through this particular website. Okay, so now what you do is that once you go to this particular website, have I been pounded, it tells you that whether your this particular email address that you will be entering has been compromised or not. Okay, it will be telling you that, right? Okay, so what it means, if it tells you that you have been compromised, it means that your data, okay, or the services which were using your particular account, okay, those all that particular critical information has been leaked, and now it is floating over the internet. Okay, so somebody can use that particular piece of information and again craft another kind of an attack and get to know much more about you, right? That's the thing. So how to resolve that particular thing? You cannot do anything for that. Once again, as I told you, the thumb rule is that once over the internet, always over the internet. So once a piece of an information is present over the internet, now the breach has taken place, your images, your files, your folder has gone over the internet, you cannot do that anything, but you can learn from your mistakes. And what you can do is that you can enable something which is called the multi-factor authentication. Okay, yes, absolutely right. Okay, let me tell you somebody. Okay, let me tell you multi-factor authentication. What really happens in the multi-factor authentication is that normally if I go to my Google account, right, what I do, first of all, I enter my username, right, and then it will be asking me for my password that I will be entering. That's a normal way. Okay, what happens in the multi-factor authentication? We have multiple authentication steps, or we can say multiple steps in place to check to verify that this particular person is saying who he actually is, right? Like for example, if I want to access my particular respective accounts, there are two hurdles that I need to pass, right? If I want to, there is a Gmail account I'm having, and I want to access my Gmail respective Gmail account or access my services or files and folders, there are two gates that I have to pass. The first is of my username. First I have to tell that I this is my username. It will the Google would be checking the servers. Okay, the first gate would be opening for me. Then what will happen, there would be second gate of the password. I will be telling the Google my password, it will be verifying, and then the second gate would be opening, and then I will be able to access it. What really happens in the multi-factor authentication is MFA is that you have another different layers for protecting your particular account. Okay, so there is something which is called the you know authentic Google authenticator. Okay, this kind of Google authenticator or Microsoft authenticators applications you have. So you can go to your particular Play Store, right, download Google authenticator, enable multi-factor authentication in your Google account, and just attach it to that particular Google authenticator. So whenever next time you will be logging into your particular Gmail account, what will going to happen is that you have to enter your username, okay? Then you have to enter your correct password, and then you have to enter that particular piece of a code looking into your mobile phone from that particular Google Authenticator. Fine. And that's the thing. So that's a remedy for it. So if your system has been already compromised, or your password has been compromised, or account has been compromised, what is going to happen is that enable multi-factor authentication. Okay, authenticator. So I would say, for example, I personally use Google Authenticator myself, right? For every account that I have or I use, okay, no matter like for my personal use or my professional use, right, for my organization, anything, I use Google Authenticator, right? So I am quite good with it. But this Microsoft Authenticator I have used it sometime, this is also quite pretty good, right? So these both are good, you can use it, right? But these both are very good, right? And you can use any of it, right? But the main point is that enable multi-factor authentication. That is a very very important thing. Okay, let's talk about some disadvantages as well, right? Why to talk about the disadvantages, right? If everything is good, right, with the cloud part, why to talk about the disadvantage? Remember this thing: when there is a technology in the market, there is a very hype, and everybody's excited, and they are only talking about the positive part. Let's say, for example, right now everybody's talking about the AI, particularly the chat GPT, right? From the last year it has arrived, and everybody is nowadays talking about the chat gpt and the rise of the AI and all those kind of things, but and everybody's excited towards it, right? But the problem here arises that nobody's talking about the security consequences of that. Okay, yep, right. So that's the thing. Okay, so that kind of things we have to understand. So again, technology is completely how you use it, right? That's deciding factor whether its technology is good or bad. Simple as that, right? So we have to, again, to build understanding and to make a decision that do we want to have, or to switch to the cloud part. We have to first of all understand the negative consequences of the cloud as well. That would definitely help us in kind of making a decision, right, whether it's good or not. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so let's talk about the disadvantages that we have in the first of all, the disadvantage we have in the cloud is the very basic but very crucial is the internet connectivity, right? It may look simple, but it's very very important, right? Let's say, for example, again, if you do not get that, let me explain you within a real life scenario. What really happens is that you are storing a piece of a very crucial document, right? Your driving license, something like that, in a digital format in your Google Drive. Okay, and it is present there. But now what is going to happen is that now someone asks you for your particular Google Drive, sorry, your driving license or any kind of an information which is present in the Google Drive. Okay, but now your internet is not working, or the area where you live or you work, the internet is not working due to some reason, due to some technical reason, or the change of the climate, or some kind of due to any kind of technical issues, your internet is not working in that particular moment of time. Okay, so even if your data is still stored in your Google account, it is secure, but because you want it, you're not able to get it, right? So that is the biggest advantage we have, internet connectivity, right? Even if your data is stored, you're using it, it is secure and everything is good, fine. But when you needed it, you are not getting it, right? That's the biggest advantage we have in the cloud part, internet connectivity. If you have no internet, you do not have any cloud. Remember that, or access to the cloud, right? All your data is just lying there, you cannot access it, right? That's the at the first advantage we have. Then we have another advantage which is called the vendor login lock-in. What it means is that, okay, vendor, first of all, let me break it down. What it means is that the second advantage we have something which is called the vendor lock-in. Let me break it down for you. What is a vendor? Vendor is that particular organization or particular body which provides that particular resources to you. Let's say, for example, the Google Drive is it has been a product of which vendor? Google, right? That particular organization or the body which is providing you that particular piece of an information. Okay, that is who the vendor is, right? Okay. Now, what really happens this in this particular cloud scenario is that there are multiple vendors. In today's session also we will be discussing the few of them, but we have multiple vendors in place. It means multiple organizations in place. So vendor means organization or bodies, right? So multiple organizations in place which provide this cloud, different cloud services to you. Okay, so for example, like as I told you, there is a service which is AWS, provided by the Amazon. Okay, the e-commerce giant, right? Or the Amazon Prime that you uh, see movies or watch web series. Okay, they have a different cloud platform with the name of AWS, Amazon Web Services. Okay, very famous one. Okay, so now what really happens in this particular AWS is that, let's say for example, there is an organization with the name of XY. Okay, and that particular organization makes up its mind that they want to switch. They are very much fond of the cloud. The senior authorities get very excited that okay, the cloud is going to be definitely for sure giving us a lot of benefits. So they have decided that they will be switching from the normal system, from their on-premises infrastructure, from their regular infrastructure, to the cloud part. Every bit of an information, 90% of the infrastructure would be present in the cloud part, particularly in the AWS. So they will be using the services of the AWS, right? Amazon Web Service. Okay, now what really happens in this particular scenario is that, okay, so for example, a 2 or 3 or 4 months that they are very happy with the services provided by the AWS, everything is working fine, good. But now what really happens is that they want to switch from AWS to something which is called the Azure. Okay, another service provided by the Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft is also is a player in this particular cloud industry. So the AWS is provided by the Amazon, and Azure is present provided by the Microsoft. So now they want to switch from AWS to the Azure, another cloud platform, right? But what really happens in that particular scenario is that it was used to be very difficult for switching from one vendor, or you can say from one organization to another organization. You can say, like, let's say for example, if you're not able to understand right now, you can think about, like, for example, if you have a piece of a document or a piece of a song or photos or any sort of a information or a document you have in your particular Google Drive, right? Now what you need to do is that you are facing some kind of a problem with the Google Drive and you are not very happy with it. You are thinking that okay, data gets can get there are a lot of reports that the data has been leaked out of Google Drives and all those kind of things. Google is not able to protect your data and all those kind of things. So you want to shift your data from Google Drive to, let's say for example, Yahoo. Okay, Yahoo is also providing it, and you want to kind of, or Oracle or Alibaba is also providing it. So what you do is that you want to switch your or take your 5 GB of data which you have stored in the Google Drive to some other vendors or to some other organization. It is quite good, right? It is not very much of difficulties there. Right, what you can do is that the multiple steps you can approach, you can take. First of all, you can download complete 5 GB of data in your system, and then you can upload it. Okay, and or otherwise you can transfer it as well, right? That's the thing you have. But when you have a, a terabytes of data, it is not possible to download it and then upload it, right? That's not a very smart way. So that's the thing which is called vendor lock-in. It means is that once you are using a service of an organization, you are now completely trapped inside it. Okay, you cannot leave that particular organization, you cannot leave the AWS. Okay, or you cannot switch it. So that's something which is called vendor lock-in, right? That is also a disadvantage. So initially the AWS was very good, everything was working fine. Your organization thought that okay, we want to use AWS services. You used it, AWS services, you store your every bit of information in the AWS, and now you want to switch from one organization to another organization, but you're not able to do that, right? There is no way through which you can go from one organization service to another organization service. So you're trapped. That is something which is called vendor, or you can say, or organization lock-in. You're locked inside an organization, right? Even if you want to move to a different organization, you cannot, right? That is something which is called vendor lock-in, right? Okay. Then we have another thing which is called the limited control. The third advantage we have is something which is called the limited control. Okay, what it means is that this limited control is means is that it limits your, you know, um, ownership, okay, of that particular piece of an information. Okay, that is a limited control that you have over that particular piece of an information or your particular piece of an infrastructure, right? Let's say, for example, in the AW, or let's say from the Google Drive, right? In the Google Drive, you have uploaded a piece of a document, let's say 5 GB or 10 GB of data, right? Your personal files and photos, you have uploaded it over the Google Drive. Now, the limited control means is that it is not under your control where the Google would be storing or saving that particular piece of an information. Okay, so you can be present in India, you are storing your 10 GB of your family files and photos in the Google Drive, but the Google, what they can do is that they can store that particular files and folders in the servers which are present in the United States. Okay, so you have no control on, you know, over your own data, right? That kind of things, right? So that's why we have services, and as I told you, there is a thing which is called S3, which is very, very much we have control over all our data, right? Who can access it, who cannot access it, that kind of things, right? So definitely for sure, when you are over the cloud part, you have a very limited control over even your own data. That kind of things that we have, a kind of a limitations, right? Or you can say less control over, right? Then there's another thing which is called multi-tenancy. This is also very good example of disadvantages of the cloud part. Let me write it down. Okay, multi-tenancy. Well, let me explain you what this particular multi-tenancy is. Multi-tenancy, what really happens in this particular thing is that in a multi-tenancy, multiple people are sharing a same piece of an hardware. Okay, right? What it means is that, let's say, for example, if you are in your on premises, in your laptop, right, in your laptop or in your particular PC, you have 1 TB of storage, right? Particular this 1 TB is completely, you are the owner of it, right? You, every piece of information is completely dedicated to you. You can use every bit of this 1 TB, right? Which is 1 TB, or like any sort of an SSD or HSD you have in your particular laptop or the computer. It is completely, you are the owner and you can store the file, right? Okay, but what happens in the multi-tenancy is like it is dividing this particular piece of an hardware into multiple components, and then multiple users are present there. Let's say, for example, in the multi-tenancy, this 1 TB of hard disk would be having, it could be divided into multiple parts. Right? In this scenario, I'm dividing into 4 parts. So one part could be of one of my friend, what one part I will be using, one part my another friend could be using, and this could be used by someone else, right? So that is something which is called multi-tenancy, when there is a resource is present there and the users are multiple people, right? That's the thing which is called multi-tenancy. So that's why the cloud is so cheap. This is the bigger, this is the reason why the cloud is so cheap, right? Due to the multi-tenancy, because resource is shared between multiple users, right? So that is the thing about the multi-tenancy. You know the what biggest advantage of the multi-tenancy, why it is a disadvantage of the cloud? Because what can go wrong here in this particular scenario is that, let's say, for example, this is my hard disk, right? And or you can say this is the hard disk which is present in Google or Amazon, right, or any cloud provider. And what you had done is that they have divided this particular hard disk, 1 TB of hard disk, in their respective servers into 4 components, right? And now what is going to happen is that this is particular person A who is using it for something else, storing files, folders, music folders. This is person B who is storing it for his office works, right? Office files and folders. This is C, right, which is storing again for um, for his movies, right? And this is particular D, right? Now, what really happens is that this particular person who is C is going to some torrent website or something like that, and what is happening in that particular scenario is he has downloaded a piece of a movie, and in that particular movie, with the movie, the viruses also get installed, and he has uploaded on the Google Drive. Now, the possibility here is that the piece of an data that he's storing in the Google Drive, right? The particular film that he has stored in the Google Drive is holding some kind of a virus with that as well. So there is a possibility that this particular, there could be a breach. Okay, definitely there are security implications in place, that is not a thing, but this is a possibility, right? Okay, that is a problem with the multi-tenancy, right? So this particular piece of a virus can completely spread to other people or other partitions, right? And it will, all of the peoples would be, affected with it, right? So that is something which is called the multi-tenancy, and this is the reason why it is kind of thing that you have to worry about it. Okay, because you're sharing a piece of a data, important thing, with multiple peoples. Okay, which is called the multi-tenancy. Okay, now let's talk about top cloud service providers that we have. Okay, so in your particular screen you can see that we have AWS, right? This one that I have told you about. Okay, this is the AWS, which is provided by the Amazon. Okay, this is the Azure, which is provided by the Microsoft. This one is just called the GCP, which stands for Google Cloud Platform, right? And then we have Alibaba, Oracle, right? IBM, Tencent, and multiple others, right? But these three, okay, okay. So these three, you have to focus upon this three part. These three: AWS, Azure, and the Google Cloud Platform. Why? Because these three are the leaders in the market. First of all, AWS, right? They were the pioneers, right? And they were first. They started this particular cloud thing, right, for the general public. Okay, and they are still the leaders in the market. And then second is the Azure. This is the Azure. This comes second. This holds the, you know the market, um, after the AWS, and it is held by the Microsoft. Microsoft is the owner of the Azure. And then after the third, we have the GCP, which stands for Google Cloud Platform. It is, as the name is telling by itself, is being maintained and taken care by the Google, right? So these are the different vendors we have, right? Vendors or service provider or the organizations we have, which provide these benefits. Okay, AWS, Azure, and the GCP. Okay, they are very big player and important players, right? Okay, and other players are as well. I'm not saying completely ignore the Alibaba or the Oracle. They have definitely for sure their own contribution, but the big participant, the majority of the chunk of the particular market has been captured by these three. Okay, so that's the thing. You can say the 90% is being captured by these three, right? Okay, and it keeps on changing, but right now you can say the 90%. Okay, so now till here, we have what we have done is that we have talked a lot about, what is this, what are the advantages of the cloud, right? Like we have the backups, right? And multiple other things like security, low cost, right? All these kind of things we have in the cloud part. The advantages, the disadvantage, it is not secure, right? You have not much control over your own data, that kind of things we have, right? So let's talk about the use case where this particular cloud comes in, right? In this particular pictures, I have pasted a photo of Netflix. So remember this thing, whenever like in the AWS, I told you Amazon created AWS. AWS is an organization, Amazon Web Service, which provides multiple cloud services, right? And Netflix uses it. What I means is that Netflix is a streaming platform, right? Creating movies and creating web series, and then you're easily watching it. But do you know, remember that Netflix has does not have any sort of an infrastructure of its own app. There's no data center, there is nothing of the Netflix, very minimum data, they have infrastructure. So what they do is that they focus mostly upon the job they do, right? They focus upon creating movies, they focus upon creating web series, interesting web series which can be entertaining to you, right? And then what they do is that they kind of focus upon the end goal, the entertainment part, right? Capturing the market, entertaining the particular subscriber, right? On all those kind of things. Okay, so they do not have their infrastructure, any sort of infrastructure. They do not have any big data centers and all this kind of thing. So why? So how you are able to go to the Netflix website or go to the Netflix app and able to see these all these website and all those kind of things. How you're able to do that? Because Netflix is the big client of AWS. In the previous slide, I told you AWS, Amazon Web Service, which has been provided by Amazon.com, right? Amazon. So this Netflix is one of the biggest client and the oldest client of the Netflix, right? So big, huge infrastructure of this particular Netflix is stored in the you know um, AWS. So there is a service in the AWS which is called the S3. So okay, let me tell you how what really happens here is that, let's say for example, Netflix shot a video or a web series or something like that. Okay, and then what they are going to do is that they are having their Amazon account, AWS account, and then they are going to, as I told you, what I told you, S3. What it was like your Google Drive, but much secure, much control you have over that, right? Who can access it, who cannot access it, much more encryption and all those kind of things. Okay, so Netflix, what they did is that they kind of um, you know created a movie or a web series or anything like that, and then they store that particular piece of a movie or uploaded in the S3. Okay, Amazon S3, and then through that particular S3, it has been coming into your respective application or the website. Definitely, for sure, multiple mechanisms are placed, different architectures are placed in between. But to be simplifying it, I'm telling you how it really works. Okay, so this is how it really. So Netflix creates a movie, it stores this in the S3, and through that particular S3, when you are request for a movie in your application or a website, you are being redirected to that particular S3 where the particular movie is. Okay, so that is the biggest advantage we have. So that's the big thing. Okay, so first of all, the biggest client of the AWS, right now I'm talking about the AWS, Amazon Web Service. Netflix is one of the biggest client. Amazon Prime, okay, which is also a kind of a competitors of Netflix, is also using AWS, right? Okay. And have you heard about NASA, National Aeronautics Space Administration? NASA also uses the infrastructure of the AWS, right? So that's the thing. So what they do is that again, they whatever their discovery or the innovation or the research or anything, any piece of information they have, instead of building their own, millions of billions of dollars of, the servers, right, or the server farm, and then maintaining them and cooling it down and, hiring the different architectures and the engineers to maintain those big things, right? Instead of doing that, what they do is that they focus upon their job, right, building the rockets and doing research and finding out extraterrestrial life across the space, right, and sending the rovers over the Mars and all those kind of stuff they start doing. And what are the data that has been collected, they keep on store in, whether in the AWS servers or S3, right? Or there are different other services provided by the AWS, so they use that, right? And if they want, definitely for sure they will be going there in the S3 account and they will be retrieving it back. That's the thing, right? So these are the big players, right? And so definitely for sure, see, the advantage here is that if, let's say for example, in the Netflix part, I told you, in the Netflix part, Netflix spends millions and millions dollars, in creating a movies and all those kind of things, right? Because how it's able to do that, how it's able to work upon the quality of creating a good web series, or paying a huge amount of money to the actors, to the actresses, to the script writers and all those kind of things, because they are saving a lot, right? And then why, how they are able to save? Because they are not investing, or you can say is they're investing a, not much, not millions, into the servers or anything, or servers farms, right? A big uh, you know um, servers and all those kind of things. They're just renting, right? What they're doing is that they're creating movies and all those kind of things, entertainment purposes, animation and all those kind of things. And what they're doing is that then they are going to the Amazon AWS, and then they are saying to the AWS, I want to use your respective resources and I will be renting it. So on a daily basis, if a movie has been uploaded to the AWS infrastructure, Amazon, Netflix would be paying some amount of money to the Amazon, right? And that's it. This is how it really works, right? And Netflix does not need to worry about the that particular server, how good it is running, right? How much engineers the Amazon is hiring, and what is the thing, and how the architecture is working. And Netflix has nothing to worry about that. It is not the headache of the Netflix. Netflix is just renting the service, renting the servers which is present. That is the ownership, the actual ownership is of the Amazon. The Netflix is just renting them, right? The services, okay, and storing that piece of an information there and managing it through the AWS, Amazon Web Services. Okay, that's the thing. So Amazon, sorry, NASA, Netflix, right, Amazon Prime, all are using AWS. Okay, so this is just a one example we have. Multiple hospitals also, in today's world, they are switching to the cloud platform as well. Why? Because first of all, it is very easy and very convenient for the patient. Let's say, for example, if you have visited a particular doctor, right, and that particular doctor has diagnosed with, you have given him your respective symptoms, that this is this I am facing, I'm not feeling well, and this is a thing, right? And that particular doctor has prescribed a blood test or prescribe a medicine to you for a week or a month, right? And you have taken those particular medicines respectively with full discipline. What are the time schedule that the doctor has told you? You have taken that, but you're still not getting any, benefit out of that particular medicines, right? Your shoes are not still resolved, your health issues, right? So what you do is that you switch to another doctor, right? You think that, okay, this for the first doctor, which whatever, the thing that he is providing me, I'm not able to, fully recover. What I do is that I change my doctor and I go to another doctor and ask him for his particular advice, what he thinks, what from his particular opinion, what could be the case, right? Now the second doctor diagnosed you, but the thing is that you have to, it's a very good idea that the second doctor that you're going to visit, you have to tell him that you have already visited a doctor. He had already provided you some kind of a medicines for a month, and you have taken them, but still not the thing, right? So definitely for sure that information would also help you, the second doctors, into diagnosing it, right? Okay, and catching a particular issue, what can be the thing. So what if nowadays, right, what really happen, I have seen this thing, that many people, they kind of, takes huge amount of bags and all this kind of thing, where they keep the MRI scan, CT scan, the big baggage, right? And they just keeps on wandering from one hospital to another one, from one doctor to another one, right, when they are not satisfied with their current medical one, right? So what they do, what the government, Indian government, is trying to do is that they are kind of having a vision that they want to digitalize everyone. What it means is that you will be having an account, right? And let's say, for example, I do a MRI scan of one of my body, let's say for my liver, okay? My doctor says that, Amit, go and do an MRI scan of your liver. So what now currently happens is that I visited a hospital, and they provides, after doing an MRI scans, they provide me a big sheets or multiple sheets of the MRI scans, and then I have to take it, right, everywhere. Whenever I go to any doctor, I have to take it with me. It's a very uncomfortable thing, right? So what the government is trying to do is that they will be doing an my MRI scan would be doing completed, and then a digital copy would be provided in my account, okay? And then what can happen is that that particular piece, so I will be visiting a doctor in another city or another country or anywhere, and I will be telling my account to my particular doctor. My doctor would be visiting that particular account, right? And he can easily see my MRI scan complete. I does not need to worry about, I does not need to carry any hard copy or anything like that. Every bit of an information, every my complete from my 10 or 15 years, my all medical record could be present in that particular account, right? That is also a cloud thing, right? All the information is being collected, it is stored inside a server, and I, as a particular person, or my family members, or my particular doctor, can access it, right? Definitely for sure my consent would be there for sure, right? Because it's at the end, it's my data, I have a control over it. But it's definitely is a very beneficial thing for the patient as well as particular for the particular doctor to access or diagnose my problem. Okay, that's just also a use case of the cloud part, right? Okay, right. Then we have something which is called the server farms. Server farms, what it means is that server farms is like a farm, it's a huge place, right? And we have multiple servers in place stored in. Okay. Whenever you go over the Google or whenever, like in your screen also, you can see that there is a diagram or a kind of picture in place. And in the picture, you can see that there is multiple servers in place, right? So these are the big servers which are present there. And in those servers, you know data is being stored, right? So these are the big server farms. So these are the big huge farms where a lot of the servers are being kept, right? Okay, so this is it, how it really looks like. And this is something which is called the data center. Data center is, you can see, the backbone of everything, right? Everything is completely depend, this particular cloud infrastructure, everything at the end of the day is completely dependent upon this data centers. Okay, as we will be moving ahead in the sessions, I will be explaining you, I will be showing you some glimpse of the, the data centers, right? Okay, so this, in this particular data center, what really happens is that this is actually the server or the machines where you particularly your, you know information is being stored. What I means is that, as I told you in the beginning only, when cloud is, what it is, a cloud is the combination of different, it's kind of a network of different servers, right? So data center is only the servers, these are the computers, right? And in these computers you are storing a piece of information. This servers could be present in the Microsoft uh, you know premises, or the Google's premises, right, in their respective office or their headquarters or wherever, right? So it could be present there in their particular location. And you are, when you are uploading any piece of a file or a data in the Google Drive, it is being transmitted and kept in these big servers. And when you want to retrieve it through the, because they are, at the end of the day, they are connected with internet, so you can easily retrieve it back as well. You can do the modification, you can change it, you can delete it, you can just make multiple copies, whatever you want, you can do that. So actually the game, whatever you're doing, actually here it's happening. Okay, so see, at the end of the day, compute, this cloud is actually somebody's else system. Okay, and you are just renting it till the time you are using its services, you are going to pay for that, simple as that. Okay. Okay, so this is the data center, how it looks like. And supercomputers, Yashraj, is kind of a different thing, boss, right? Supercomputers are mostly used for complex calculations, right? Okay, so that's the computer, a different thing. So that's not the supercomputer. So data centers and supercomputers are kind of a different thing, because see, supercomputers are mostly used for complex calculations, right? If they're complex mathematical calculations, okay, those kind of things, so then we'll be using supercomputers which are quite intelligent and all those kind of things. Data center is kind of a place for storing your information. That's it, right? So kind of a different thing. What really happens here is that in the data centers, the organization has to spend millions of dollars. This organization, let's say for example, this is the data center. This particular picture that you're seeing in front of your screen is the data center of Amazon, or let's say Google, right? And like it, any sort of modification or the data that you're inserting in your Google Drive is, at the end of the day, going through the internet, is being stored in these particular computers. Fine. Now Google has to spend millions of dollars into protecting these data centers, right? Millions of them are present. uh, right, because they have to spend, right? There are multiple techniques, they have to use multiple cameras, they will be using it in order to protect this particular data centers, right? So any, because why, because any damage to these data centers, these servers, right, is going to be definitely for sure having a huge impact over the infrastructure of the Google, right? That's the thing. So you can extract any piece of information from this data center and insert it as well. So let's say, for example, when you are doing any sort of a Google search, right? That is it also the piece of an information is stored in the Google servers, right? So based upon your respective queries that you are asking for, it is providing you that particular piece of an information. That's the thing. That's a, the interesting thing about the data centers. And one more thing, in these data centers, not just physical security is being provided by the organization, right? They also take care about the temperature. Okay, that, because see, at the end of the day, the machines that have been operating, because this data center would be running 24 by 7, right? So the organization, what they have to do is that organization has to maintain optimal temperature for this particular machine to work fine. So it should not be, too hot, otherwise the system could fail. That could be a possibility. So there should be an optimum temperature from which the particular machine would be working properly fine. So that's also kind of a thing that this particular organization should, Google or Amazon or the Microsoft, had to worry about it, right? Maintaining an optimum temperature. That's the thing. Okay, now we have, let's go to a very, very interesting topic, which is called virtualization. So let me tell you what really happens in the virtualization. Okay, let me tell you what really happens in the virtualization. Virtualization is means is that it is a piece of a technology in place what really helps you in, you know, a kind of creating a virtual representation, or kind of a creating a virtual copy of something. Okay, that is something which is called the virtualization. A virtual copy, or you can say a digital copy of it. Let's say, for example, why we need a virtualization. Okay, so let's talk about a scenario where we do not have a virtualization. And because I'm working in the field of cybersecurity, I have to, use multiple machines in order to, hack or practice or to do the pen testing part. I have to use multiple machines in place. Let's say, for example, I want 5 systems, right? Let me draw a diagram here. Okay, I want, this is one particular one system, this is another one, this is another, and this is, right? These are these boxes, that green boxes that you're seeing, these are the 5 PCs, right? I want for my particular job to done, right? That is something which is called the hypervisor. Okay, the hypervisor V, or the VMware workstation that you have previously seen, where you will be performing, you have seen the Kali and all this kind of practical. That was something which was called the hypervisor. Okay, yep. Okay, so let me clarify this particular thing, virtualization. Yep. So the Kali, yeah. So the VMware workstation and all this kind of machine that you have seen is the hypervisor, right? This is some kind of a software we have which helps us in virtualization. So what really happens in the virtualization? Why we needs a virtualization? So let's take this particular scenario. We have 5 systems in place, right? Or I need particular 5 systems in place to perform some kind of an activities, right? To learn some things, to, practice something, or to do the pen testing part or anything like that. I this particular 5 PCs I have in place. Okay, now what really happens in this particular scenario is, it is very difficult for me or anybody to handle or maintain or, keep these 5 PCs, right? Because I have to, definitely, for sure, I have to have 5, this, there should be huge amount of space in my house, respective house, where I would be keeping 5 PCs. Okay, then I have to maintain them. Then if any sort of a problem arises, okay. See, Yashraj, that you're saying that the Kali Linux or the VMware, the Kali Linux, first of all, is an operating system, and the VMware is the hypervisor. Okay, okay, I will be coming to that part. Just give me a minute. Okay, so yeah, so first of all, let me explain this particular virtualization part. Yeah, there's a difference between that. Kali Linux is an operating system, like the operating system. We have the Mac OS. Okay, then we have the Windows 7. 10 XP, that is, these are the operating systems we have. So Kali Linux is just an operating system which we can use, but it is most about the CLI, command line interface. Anything you want to do in the Kali Linux, you have to write a piece of a command, right? Like the Windows, if you want to create a folder, a file, or anything like that, you can easily with a mouse you can create it, right? With just right click and few clicks you get easily able to create it, right? That is something which is called the GUI, graphical user interface, where the user interface, interact with a particular machine through a graphical user. Okay, it's quite easy. But a Kali Linux is a CLI where you have to write a command in order to make the machine do something for you. Okay, that's the thing. Yeah. Okay, and the VMware is a hypervisor, which I will be coming. The thing that the image that you're seeing in front of your screen is it's this type 1 and type 2 hypervisor. I will be explaining them. What are they? Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so in the virtualization part, these are the 5 PCs. So I have 5 PCs, and what is going to happen is that before virtualization, okay, so I have 5 PCs and I have to take care of these 5 PCs. I should have a lot of space in my house to handle them, and keep them and all this kind of things. Okay, now what really happens is that after the virtualization, what I means is that creating a virtual copy, or you can say a digital copy of these things, right? So what really happens in the virtualization is that I have one system, one physical system, one PC. Out of these, all these for 5 PCs, what I will do is then virtualization is that I will be having only one system, okay, one physical system, and inside that particular fun systems, I will be having multiple operating systems. That is something which is called the virtualization, where you have one physical system, and out of that one physical systems, you have multiple operating system. That is something which is called the virtualization. So before virtualization, one system, one operating system was there, right? So if I want to use 5 operating systems, I need to have 5 computers. That was a completely a headache, right? It was a very costly, not user friendly, very uncomfortable, lot of using a lot of space and all those kind of things. So to resolve that particular thing, we came up with the idea which is called the virtualization. In virtualization, we have one system, and inside that particular one system we have multiple operating system. Like you all said in the yesterday's session, you have seen something which is called the VMware workstation, right? In the VMware workstation, you have seen with your own eyes that you have multiple operating system, right? You can see that there would be, there would be Kali, there was Ubuntu, and multiple operating system would be present there, and you can install it by yourself as well. You can remove it, you can install it, you can modify it, you can do whatever you want, right? So one system, right, and multiple operating system. That is in short, it is what is called the virtualization, where you need not to have multiple system physical, right, different systems in place. Okay, and the software that helps you in achieving that particular thing, right, is something which is called the hypervisor. Okay, the the software that lets you do the virtualization is called the hypervisor. You can change their network configuration as well, right? It's all up to you. Okay, so like most of you said that the hypervisor, sorry, VMware workstation that you have seen yesterday, it is an example of hypervisor. Okay, right? So it's a kind of a software in place, okay, which helps you in achieving this particular virtualization. Okay, now let's talk about, when we talk about the hypervisor part, we have two types of hypervisor in place: hypervisor 1, right, type 1, and type 2 hypervisor, right? Let's go to this particular architecture part, that what is an hypervisor first and hypervisor second. So first of all, I will be explaining you guys what is type 2 hypervisor. Okay, this particular hypervisor, this is an architecture of this one. So first of all, let's look into this part. Completely ignore this one. Look into this one, right? Focus on this. Yeah. So when we look into this architecture of this particular machine, what is here, right? First of all, the basic, at the below level we have hardware, right? If you compare this thing with my particular machine from which I'm taking this session, it's like this is would be the hardware of my particular machine. It could be like something RAM could be there, processor, okay, and all this kind of thing: RAM, processor, ROM, hard disk, SSD, SSD, or anything like that would be there. Okay, that is the my hard disk, right? Now after, inside the particular hard disk, I have an operating system. This particular session I'm taking from Windows 10, right? This particular machine which from which I'm taking the session is having Windows 10. So the host operating system is Windows 10. Okay, above that particular Windows 10, I have installed multiple operating systems, right? I have installed games, I have installed multiple operating systems, I have, right, I have Google Chrome and all this kind of thing. And there is a special software I have installed which is by the name of hypervisor, right? The software is hypervisor. Okay, there are multiple hypervisor. VMware Workstation is one of them. VirtualBox is there also, right? Which is free of cost. Anyone can go and download VirtualBox. It is free of cost. VMware Workstation, you have to pay for that. Okay, that's the thing. So in the yesterday session, that VMware Workstation that you guys have seen, you have to pay for that, right? And VirtualBox is free of cost. Okay, so that particular software which helps you in virtualization is the hypervisor. That right? So I've installed hypervisor VMware Workstation in my operating system. And above that particular hypervisor, this particular system, this is my operating system one, this is my operating system second, this is my operating system third. And multiple operating system I can create inside my virtual machines, right? Above my hypervisor. Okay. Yep. Right. Because see, this thing is practical. Okay, in the previous session you have already seen that it is practical, right? Any one of you can easily go and download this hypervisor and create this virtual machines, this machines, right? The virtual machines of Windows XP, Kali and all those kind of things, you can create it. Fine, that's the thing. Okay, so this is just called type 2 hypervisor. It is practical for general public, right? In your normal PCs or your laptop or a desktop, you can perform this particular hypervisor too. Okay, now the biggest disadvantage of this hypervisor, you know what it is? The biggest advantage is that of this operating system. Let's say, for example, there is a ransomware attack, okay, or there is some kind of a virus attack or something happens. My operating system fails. From this, the machine from which I'm taking the session is having Windows 10, right? And I'm having, let's say, for example, different VM installed. Okay, if my operating system fails, my hypervisor also fails, right? Because I'm not able to use my hypervisor, and if my hypervisor fails, my VMs also fails. Fine. So all the complete architecture fails, right? That's the thing with the hypervisor second. So that's why we have one place in organization where we are doing some serious work. We will be using something which is called type 1 hypervisor. Okay, this, and let me explain to you what this type 1 hypervisor is. I can show you, or in the previous sessions, you have seen the type 2 hypervisor, right? The VMware Workstation one. Okay, that is practical, that is easy, and you can say it is practical to show type 2 hypervisor, but it is not practical to show type 1 hypervisor from a normal system, normal machines. You have to configure the machines specifically for running this type 1 hypervisor. Why? If you look into this particular architecture, if you compare the architecture of type 1 and type 2 hypervisor, you can see that in the type 1 hypervisor you do not have any sort of an operating system. So what it means is that the first problem, right, that what was the problem in the hypervisor 2, if there is a attack in my system and my operating system collapses, my operating system is not able to boot up, or is facing some kind of a problem due to attack, right? My whole architecture fails, right? Because you have operating system, inside the operating system you have downloaded hypervisor, and inside the hypervisor you have downloaded this VMware, right? If this is not working properly, this will not work properly, and this will also collapse, so everything will collapse. So in the type 1 hypervisor, what we did is that we removed the operating system, so the hypervisor, okay, is installed in the hardware only. Fine. Okay, so we do not have any sort of an operating system in hypervisor first. Our hypervisor, or the particular software which helps us in creating different virtual machines, is directly installed in the hardware part, right? And the example could be like VMware EXI, right? Microsoft Hyper one is an example of it. Okay, this is an example of hypervisor one. So it is not practically possible to show these hypervisor first, right? Because you need special dedicated systems in order to you know use this kind of thing. Okay, and you can see here above the the hardware, you have the hypervisor, right? And above the hypervisor you have the VMware 1, VMware 2, and the VMware 3, right? We have different kind of VMwares there. Okay, same, right? But the difference only lies that there is no operating system. So in the hypervisor first, your hypervisor is being stored in the hardware. Okay, now the interesting case again here is this. So you can say, okay, in short, you can say that hypervisor second, this one is for normal use, for normal public, you can say, but this is for some serious work, right? If you want to perform some complex tasks and all those kind of things, you will need a type 1 hypervisor. Okay. Okay, so what are the other benefits we have? Okay, so what are the other benefits that we have of this type 1 hypervisor? Another benefit of the type 1 hypervisor is that, what if, Amit, you have told us that in this particular hypervisor we remove the operating system. Why? Because due to, if there is an attack over this operating system, everything's false, right? So now we remove the operating system in the type 1 hypervisor. Okay, what if this hardware also fail, right? So there is a thing in the concept in the hypervisor first, which is named by the name of clustering. Let me tell you what this particular clustering is. What happens in the clustering part is that even if this hardware fails, right, if I'm facing that, okay, I have an hyper one type 1 hyper this system where I am having type 1 hypervisor installed. Okay, now what is going to happen in that particular scenario is that, what if my hardware also fails due to any reason, due to malware attack or some kind of thing? This particular this hardware is also failing apart, right? Now what is going to do is that I can running machine, right? The machine is running. Okay. I can take a running machine. I can take my VMware. I can take my hypervisor and I can transport it to some other healthy hardware. Okay. There could be definitely for sure some other hardware as well of some other hypervisor first. And I can be taking my hypervisor as well as my running VM machines and I can transport it. It's something which is called clustering. Okay, that is also thing we have because we use this hypervisor for serious things, right? And we do not want any sort of a failure when we are dealing with any sort of a thing. Okay, that's the thing. See, what really happens is that if your hardware fails, right, still you can perform, or you are, you have this particular capability, this hypervisor, because you have some advanced machine for that, hard advanced configured machines. So what you can do is that even if your hardware is failing up, what you can do is that you can take this hypervisor and this VM running VMs, right, and just transport it, which is called clustering, to some other PCs, or you can say some other hardware, right? And this way you will be completely protecting this particular architecture. Okay, that's the thing.